Welcome to today's webinar, courtesy of the Kentucky Small Business Development Center in Louisville. Discover no-cost, valuable business services to help you thrive, whether starting your entrepreneurial journey or scaling your existing business. We have the resources and expertise to help you succeed. For more information, please visit our website or text 502-977-5800. Thank you for joining us today. Feel free to use the chat feature to ask questions or engage with our speaker. Let's get started.
Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to another Toolkit Tuesday. So glad you can join us today. I'm Dave Etke. I'm the director here at the Louisville Small Business Development Center. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend and coworker, Janet Flaw. Janet, how are you today?
I'm doing great today. The weather's not too hot yet, but it's nice. So
Yep. We're in July. It's downhill slide to winter, my favorite time of the year. So we have a great guest today. So before we do that, just make sure everything's working. If you look at the bottom of your screen there, you should see the chat feature and just click on that button and just tell me your name and where you're joining from. It's always good for me to see who's out there. I can kind of see you guys popping in, but I don't know if we're going out. So hey, Bobby, how are you in Louisville? And there's Janet and Jay. We're all here in Louisville. Katie's one of our SBDCers and down in Berea. Hey, Jess, and Bowling Green. Litchfield, beautiful downtown Litchfield, Indianapolis. Hey, Brent, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it. Hi, April. Rilla, you are such a regular. I'm always happy to see your name on the chat. It's great. I really appreciate you coming every week. So, hi, Michelle, Missouri. Wow. Awesome. I'll be driving through your state here in a couple weeks, so be looking forward to that. So anyway, you can't go anywhere or do anything without hearing the word AI. And we were talking earlier that we can't really envision going back to a world without it. It's already in the few 18 months that it's really kind of blossomed. It's just kind of taken over things. But I think, and I'm probably guilty of this too, that there's a lot more that you can use to build into your business to really help get AI to help you be more efficient and drive your business forward. So I've had the opportunity to invite a true expert. Jay Smith is such a expert in this whole thing. When we first met, we were talking about problem a group of us was having, and Jay said, "Yeah, I can do that." In a day, he built this whole thing. It was just blew me away. So I thought Jay needs to come here and kind of share with everybody else. So Jay, good to see you today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So as we go forward today, please use the chat and ask any questions or have any comments. We're not really going to do a slideshow today or do a presentation. We're going to let Jay kind of talk through things, but this can be a conversation, so let's make it that way. And I think that hopefully we can walk away with some tips and tricks that we can use in our business to really do something good and drive our businesses forward a bit more than we are right now. So, Jay, I'm going to hand it off to you and introduce yourself and tell us where we're going next.
Thanks, Dave. So yeah, my name is Jay Smith. I'm one of the co-founders of a company in Louisville called 10X Velocity. We work with mid-sized companies to larger companies. I've got a long history in the military and cybersecurity and logistics and manufacturing. My last real job was at GE Appliances here in Louisville. And for the last 3.5 years or so, we've been doing a lot with AI and helping adoption and rollouts and building agentic workflows for companies.
Nice. So let's dive in here. Kind of, I don't know, give us some examples. I don't know, I'm not sure where to go here, but picture us as small business owners, and we're just doing things we normally do. where would you tell us to start to work through everything?
I mean, it's pretty common advice now, but to look at workflows where it's just routine work over and over and over again. And one thing we like to look at as soon as we get in with a new client is what are you outsourcing? What are you paying someone else to do? Because in most cases, that's a well-documented process. If you're able to hand it off to another company, it's not it doesn't have your internal magic or your one person in the company who knows how to do it. So we really look at those as one of the key things to start with. Um, and again, because it's well documented, but really it's just one of those things, like I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'll use 4 to sharpen my axe. Planning and intention before you just build something is critical. If you build the wrong thing, if you don't build it correctly, if you know, getting people in your workplace comfortable with the idea of even adopting AI, because the AI companies have scared us to death for 3 years about how it's going to replace all our jobs, and have proven that that's not going to happen time and time again, or it's not even close to that capability.
Mhm.
But we still see massive layoffs in the tech sector. But then again, a lot of companies, it's been kind of shown they're using that to whitewash inefficiency, labor that they bought when money was cheap. But again, like going back to small businesses, it's really about what are you spending your time on that doesn't require your expertise or your special sauce that your company brings to your clients. And that's a double-edged sword, because once people see the power of what they can automate, sometimes they might go too far, and try to outsource things that are really critical to their customers or their clients, or things that their clients really appreciate, or just do it without being upfront about it and letting them know. And I've built quite a few voice agent systems. We're working on one right now with the Better Business Bureau, and I tell everybody right up front, like you have to be right up front that you're using this, and that you're honestly, I would communicate with your clients before you even deploy it, if you can. And if not, when they call in or you're calling them, the first thing that voice agent should say is, I'm the automated voice system for the Small Business Development Center or whoever, because it's just people don't like feeling fooled, and that's just a psychological thing with us. And whether or not you intentionally fool them, they're going to feel fooled if at first glance they can't tell that it's a robot, and then eventually they figure it out. So that's going to alienate them. But again, that's really part of the planning process, is
Right.
understanding not only your internal users, but your external users of this, and testing. You can't test enough.
Hmm. When when you're when you're called up to a business, let's just back to the small business analogy. I feel like that as a small business owner, I wouldn't even know where the opportunities to lie, where they are. The stuff that we do over and over again, like you mentioned. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is like bookkeeping processes. What can I do with that? Um, but there's got to be a ton of other things. So if you were to just show up to some place, where would you start? Where would be the low hanging fruit that we could talk
Uh,
through with everyone today?
Generally, the first thing I'd like to do is find the internal subject matter experts, the people who are really engaged with the business, have been there long enough to know where all the bodies are buried, for lack of a better term, um, and really engage with them in a conversational level to understand the internal challenges, because the people at the front level doing the day-to-day work, they know. Sometimes as a leader or an owner, it's hard for us to see outside the bottle, because we're so focused on business growth or partnerships, or the stuff of running the business, whereas the actual day to day of delivering to your clients, it's hard to have that perspective. So really, I just look for those people, and there's different ways to approach it, kind of depending on the size of your staff. One really, and to your point, bookkeeping, like that's a very, very process and paperwork heavy function. Accounting firms do a ton of it. and they get in a lot of PDFs via email, a lot. And they have to basically data enter that into QuickBooks, Excel, etc., whatever. And there are many different steps in that chain that can be automated, whether it's simply the automation of pulling it out of emails as it comes in and putting it in correct folders. That may not sound like a whole lot, but if there is somebody in your team who's spending a lot of time doing that, or there's a delay in starting that paperwork because it only comes to one mailbox that one person watches, that's a really good candidate. And AI is really good at reading PDFs too. So once you've kind of nailed that part of it, then you can add in what's called OCR, which is optical character recognition, to actually read the PDFs and pre-fill forms for you. I was actually at a AI Distilled meetup last month, and the chief AI officer of Louisville Metro was there, and she mentioned how they're working through the building permit process. And up to that point, which was June 28th, I think, they had received 8,000 building permit requests in Louisville Metro this year. That's a ton of time. And she made the comment where, you know, somebody had actually submitted one where the drawing was on a paper plate. So you can only imagine the amount of time that it takes somebody to just go through 8,000 applications and find everything that wasn't done correctly or wasn't submitted right or is missing this or that and send it back. And then that amount of time, when you can really do that with AI, you can do much of it.
Wow.
I do like to kind of defang the idea that you're just going to wholesale replace an employee with AI. And that fear for the employees too, that has not proven to work very well at all. You don't have the responsibility of the outcomes, and B, there are just too many things happen in the typical workflow. And if you do have a workflow that can be entirely replaced with a bot, then the design of your workspace, your workflows might not be ideal. And that's not to say you're not running your business correctly, but if someone's doing something that I could completely automate, you may not have gone through a digital transformation yet.
Mm-hmm.
And going from 0 to AI might be kind of a big lift.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue. So let's talk a little bit about, like, there's a bunch of different AI agents, you know, that from different companies. I mean, is there one that you like, or do you subscribe to all of them? That's what I do. But, you know,
I do. I try everything that comes across my, every software, every agentic workflow, every AI company's agent. I train my own small language models. That's kind of a part of our maturity of our workflow with a business. Is we start off with a process where we're using a large language model like Claude or OpenAI. But then very quickly, once we are using traces, and I don't want to get too in the weeds with it, but we're identifying the opportunities to train small models, which is way more affordable and much more private because you can host them locally on tiny computers. And a lot of processes that we are using AI for don't require the massive knowledge set that these large language models have. It's kind of an analogy we liken it to. You know, if you're going to a cookout and you want to bring mac and cheese, you want the best mac and cheese possible. Do you ask Aunt Jenny how she makes her mac and cheese, or do you get in a room full of every single cookbook ever made? Which is going to have the best outcome? It's going to the expert who knows exactly that much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the analogy for a small language model.
Okay.
But as far as like what's the best, there really isn't. A lot of people tend to stick with the one that they discovered and kind of vibed with when they got started into AI.
Okay.
I personally use Claude models mostly just because it's Claude code. You know, it's more geared towards developers and software.
Right. Yeah. So you use that for certain things, and do you use any of the other models for other things exclusively, or some better than others for different things, or?
I do like to use separate models to test the outputs of the main model I'm using. Um, if you're using one AI model to do everything and it's checking itself, that's not a great practice. It's much better to use a completely separate agent on the outside to verify and validate. I will say, when it comes to online specific searching, Perplexity is a really good platform to use. It's free. You can pay for it. You don't have to. But that has pretty much replaced Google for me, unless I'm just looking up like the address of a restaurant. Because Google search results have gone all AI too, but I like Perplexity's better just because it just cites where it's getting the information right in there.
Yeah.
But it has hallucinated on me.
Yeah. It's like as a small business owner, what kind of questions should you be asking yourself, to choose what's best for your particular industry, or is that even something to consider?
So I would, it's the kind of thing where you're going to start seeing those things as you use it. So what I encourage people to do, like, and what I think what you're kind of driving towards is people maybe sitting on the sidelines and until I know, or the dust has settled and they figured out, okay, this AI is great for accounting firms. That's not going to happen. And really, it's kind of an organic thing where as you start using it, you're going to understand how it can replace things in your work. And everyone has to go through this same thing where as soon as you use it, like, oh wow, this is magic. And then you're going to have this massive drop off when you start seeing the limitations of of the way it behaves. But then as your comfort level increases, you're going to get better and better. Kind of like the person who shows up at the bar and puts 2 quarters down, has never played pool before, and they're pretty good. But then as they figure out how to play pool, they get terrible. And then you get better and better with practice.
Right. Stuart asks, what programs are available to implement AI? I can understand automating budgets using a spreadsheet, but how do you automate a sales process without a program? Do we hire consultants? That's a good question.
That is a good question. And your particular use case really specifies what you need to do. If you have 5, 10 or more salespeople, I would probably go in that direction because you've got people of all different skill levels and experience. And if you want to normalize a process with AI to help them all, you need to get that done as a group. If it's you doing your entire sales process, look at those things that you don't need to do. Real estate is a big one. I know several real estate agents who have worked on their own kind of AI apps because a lot of their process is online research, and trying to catch when a property first pops up on the county clerk website or on the MLS system, and they're able to use AI to automatically watch that and alert them when it happens. Some of them go a step further, and they've used vision and video models to create their video walkthroughs of the houses they're doing, stuff like that. But again, like when it comes to automate a sales process, to be perfectly honest, I would find a sales coach and maybe not sign up for their 6 months of their program, but buy a day of their time and have them look at your entire process. I know a couple of them in Louisville, and they're really good. They can just come in outside. They don't have any preconceived notions, and they can diagnose and dissect your entire sales program. And when you do that, first you're going to see where you might be lacking, because you don't want to improve a process that doesn't work with AI, because what it's going to do is it's going to amplify it by 100. And those things that don't work, but your salesperson overcomes them with their knowledge and their just intuition, they're not going to be able to keep up with something that's doing it 1,000 miles an hour.
All right. Melissa says, we have a service business and face the challenge of getting service requests and inquiries through multiple sources, text, emails, website, phone messages, social media, direct messages. I heard a good tip to choose one mode and funnel everything that way. Like if you get a text message, send yourself an email about it. Same with a voice.
Mhm.
And so that's contained in one place. Does AI have the ability to then sort through it all and organize a list form? If not, how can AI help a small businesses funnel these massive amounts of information coming from customers through different sources? Hope this
You
makes
can
sense.
do that. And that's more automation than AI. Uh, and it might surprise people. It usually surprises them when I tell them, like, my goal when I'm building an agentic workflow for you is to keep the AI agent to the bare minimum portion of that workflow, because it's what's called non-deterministic. Software has always been deterministic. It's easy to test because it either works or the output is exactly what I expected or it's not, and I need to tweak it. AI doesn't work like that. Um, so the best practice in what Melissa is asking, in my opinion, is yes, to use automation, a tool like a Zapier or N8N. I think there's, make.com,
Mm.
and build automations from your text platform and your Gmail or your Microsoft that does push it into one repository, like a Google folder. And then you can have Gemini automatically, you can set it up, or you can do workflows with Claude, you can do it with OpenAI, you can do it with any of them. And really, it's a matter of working through that. Yes, in what Melissa's talking about, she probably would need to engage an outside party to help her get that built. But once you've got it built, that, to her point, like, life becomes a lot easier. So it's kind of a painful up front, but once you've got it built, you can save a ton of time.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of a trade in a way. Like I can spend a ton of time trying to learn how to build this thing, or is it worth my time to pay somebody to help me get it done quickly and
Yeah,
correctly, I guess.
yeah, and not to be self-serving, but yes. And I will say, and I see a couple of questions that are really, really good coming through, and I will get to those. Um,
Yeah.
it's a fine line because, and I mentioned real estate, right? And I know several real estate agents, and what they did was they discovered how easy it is to get an MVP, which is a minimum viable product of software, going like in minutes. It's so easy now. But what that led them to think was, okay, now I don't need to just do this for my own business. Now I'm a startup now. I need to sell this app to millions of people. And they start going down that rabbit hole. And it's really important to keep perspective. Like, Silicon Valley is littered with millions of the bodies of good ideas. A good idea, everyone's got great ideas, and your expertise in your field, coupled with the speed that AI can help you build something, all of a sudden you're like, I've got a genie lamp, and it's such a great idea to me, and AI is telling me how great of an idea it is too. And now I have to go this way. And what happens is people are not focusing on their business anymore. They're focusing on,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this.
Mhm.
And in some cases and it doesn't help that there's 1,000 YouTube gurus that are trying to sell them shovels and jeans in the gold rush. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not great. I hope that kind of helped. Um, you know, I here's a good middle ground. Instead of just running out and paying a consultant, start going to the AI meetups. Slingshot, which is a software company here in
Yeah.
Louisville, they do the AI Exchange. It's a fantastic meetup, and it's also sponsored by the U of L School of Business. So there's usually some AI people from the AI program at U of L there. AI Distilled, where I'm speaking at the Louisville Thoroughbred Society. I'm speaking at the next one. I think it's July 28th. Both are really good meetings, and it's a really good way for you to engage with other people who are looking at AI from a business perspective. And I see some people are in Indianapolis and other cities. If you're closer to Lexington, I know UK and in that surrounding area, I know there are meetups doing that, and I know Indy, which is a little more of a tech forward city than Louisville, and Cincinnati for sure. So I would find those local groups that are just getting together and talking through what they're doing with AI. that's a really good middle ground if you're not ready to talk to a consultant or hire somebody to help you figure this out. I would go there because you're going to meet other small business owners who have already started using this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you can learn from where they have fallen on their face and not do it yourself, that's worth quite a bit. Thomas had a really good question I want to address.
What do you see as a future in governance in AI? That is a great question.
I wish I knew. And if I did, I would be playing the stock market like crazy. I see, I'm afraid I see a near future where open source models are limited. And not to get into the whole geopolitics of it, but Chinese open source models are very, very good. And they run extremely cheap compared to OpenAI and ChatGPT and Copilot and the Gemini and the models that we have in the United States. They're not quite at that same capabilities, but like I was talking about before, do you need the mac and cheese or do you need every recipe ever written for this workflow? And this actually became a really big deal a couple of weeks ago when the United States government blocked the deployment of the new Claude model, which was Mythos, because it was too dangerous. And I think it was almost 3 weeks where nobody had access to that model. And what that caused was a lot of people in the industry to fear, okay, if this is going to happen every time, I can't roll this out in my business. Because if I have to stay on the cutting edge and all of a sudden my AI that I have incorporated into all my workflows doesn't work, I'm dead in the water. So what they did was they started exploring the open weight models that are freely available and are much easier to run on local hardware. And as people started seeing how to do that, that doesn't help the large companies in the US like OpenAI and Anthropic, who have received insane amounts of money and investment. And in order to ever return that investment, they are going to have to make a lot of money. If everybody starts using open weight models, they can't really make a lot of money. So, and the US government is heavily in partnership with those large companies, as well as Meta, as well as Microsoft. So I could foresee in the near future some sort of limiting of the access to Chinese open source models, which hopefully would drive American open source models more and not push us to using the expensive models.
Yeah. Mackenzie, you mentioned that some systems are deterministic and that AI doesn't work that way. Can you give us the simplified version of how AI works, come up with responses to our questions?
Oh, man. Yeah, I love doing this one. So when you're training a model, you're using what are called tokens, and I think it's about 4 to 7 characters of a word. And they are just constantly training this model on trillions of tokens. And what it does when you ask it a question is it basically tries to predict what the next most likely token is after that one. And then it's reading it over and over again as it goes. So when you say, the cat in the, most likely it's going to be hat. But it could be room, it could be blanket, it could be this or that because of the way they've developed it using knowledge value pairs to introduce some randomness. And if you use ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other platforms and you see that temperature scale, that's what that does. So if you crank that temperature up, it introduces a lot more randomness to which next token it picks. And that sounds a little too simplistic because it is. But if you think of that happening trillions of times, that's why it fools us into thinking that we're talking to intelligence, because it's language model. It's language. So we've never had anything talk back to us before. If birds started actually carrying on conversations with us instead of just parroting what we're saying, we would think they're intelligent. Doesn't necessarily mean they are. And when it comes to large language models, it really is a math function at its core. It's just happening on such high speed technology that it's fooling us into thinking it's. Hope I hope that was better, but that kind of explains why it took so long for it to be able to spell strawberry with the correct number of R's, because that's not something that the internet provided, and the large language models were trained on basically every book, every text, and every website page ever produced.
Wow.
I could do that for like 2 hours. I hope that was enough.
Yeah. Kenan asks, what is a good course or major for a college student learning or helping in the current job market?
As far as college majors, that's tough to say. And I have a son who's at Bellarmine. I have a younger son who just graduated high school. I still think there's plenty of future for electronic engineers and CS majors. I really do. The idea that this is going to wholesale wipe out jobs tomorrow, the only people saying this are the people who have a vested interest in saying it, or the people who are parroting what they're saying. Anybody who's, I don't know, David, if you've ever actually like been inside of GE Appliances, the massive campus here on Louisville, or Ford Motor, or one of these larger wholesale manufacturing and warehousing operations, the millions of micro interactions going on throughout those buildings every day, it's not possible to automate away like anytime soon. I know they're trying, I know they want to, but we're not close. What I would say to I'm sorry, who was it? Where was it? Oh, good course, Patton. What I would say is treat what you're going to do in college the way you would have treated it before this. What is your skill set, and what is your interest, and what is your path? When I talk to people who are already in career and they have concerns about AI taking their job, I think the strongest position you could be in now is to be the subject matter expert in your business. When I'm building an agentic system, there is a extremely important function in there that is tracing every single interaction that the system takes with AI. And we can see everything going on in that interaction. It's called tracing. The only person that we can trust to say whether that was good or that was bad and help us train models is the internal subject matter. And I think it's Uber. I think it's Uber. It's one of the large tech companies. They actually outlined exactly how they're working within their internal teams to push AI outside of just engineering, to marketing, to sales, to HR. And they're doing it by coupling an engineer with a team of subject matter experts in the company to help adoption grow. Because AI can't watch what you do and just replicate it. Like it needs training, and it needs hand-holding, and it needs oversight. Absolutely, it needs oversight.
Yeah, Bobby says, will you post the websites for the AI networking groups?
Yeah, if you so when it comes to the AI exchange, which I might be this Thursday, that's on Eventbrite. I'm pretty sure it is. And that's at Mashup Food Hall in Newland. So it was at Bourbon's Bistro in Frankfurt Avenue, and now they've moved to Mashup. They kind of move around every couple months, but that's a really good, if you're not sure, you just want to just get engaged, meet people. AI Exchange, like Slingshot and U of L School of Business, do a fantastic job in that. It's very casual. It's very welcoming. No need to be intimidated. AI Distilled is the same way. It's just a smaller crowd, and AI Distilled tends to have kind of more tech people in it, but there are marketers in there too. And I will, when I think of it, I'll try and get the link to that AI Distilled. That's the Tuesday, the last week of July, which I believe is the 28th, and I'm actually speaking at that. So if you want like my autograph or something,
right?
For whatever that's worth.
Yeah, we'll push that out to everybody. So yeah.
To Melissa's question, oh wait, yeah, website, course or major. Patton, I hope that answered your question. Honestly, I don't think there's a bad major, because really, in my mind, the point of university education is to learn how to learn.
Yeah.
I know we don't need to go down that rabbit hole of what we've done to that system since Plato. But in my mind, it's learn how to learn. So I don't, thinking about transactional is, if you go to the extreme of that, that's what leads to cheating. And that's what leads to people just having AI write their entire paper. And you're not actually learning, you're just investing in a paper.
Yeah.
Oh, Mackenzie posted it. Thank you so much. That's awesome. And then at what point does a small business need an AI agent, or is this something we build ourselves? Well, an agent, to Melissa's question, an agent is any kind of computer workflow that has an AI component to it. So that it's a very broad term, but when we say an agentic workflow, what we're saying is it's not pure automation. It's got some sort of aspect in there where an AI is deciding what to do or what to provide. So yes, you can build those yourselves. And there are a million YouTube videos on just to get started. And to be perfectly honest, you can talk to Claude or ChatGPT and just say, hey, walk me through the steps to build a very simple AI agent that will, read all of my Gmail, because you can take the Claude Cowork desktop app or the ChatGPT desktop app, which I think is Codex, or they just changed it to something, and connect it to your Gmail or to your Microsoft or to any of your softwares. And it can automatically go in there and see stuff. And you set the granular permissions on what it can do in there. And I would strongly encourage no one to ever allow it to just write your emails and send them. Yes, have it draft your emails, but make sure that slider is turned off where it can actually send emails on your behalf. You just like, there's no upside to that.
No, sounds a little risky. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unless you just love living in YOLO mode and burn it all down. Let's just see what happens. Sure. Debbie, I'm running a nonprofit food pantry, only 3 employees, everyone else is volunteer. I use ChatGPT to help me with a workflow. That's excellent. Currently, I'm not using a paid version. What's the advantage of a paid model? Well, it used to be that you would get access to the more up-to-date models, Debbie. But I would say now, because I think they by default give you the smartest models anyway, I would say now it's just usage. So if you're on a paid version, you're not going to hit that, oh, you've used up all your usage.
Yeah.
You need to wait 5 hours or a day or whatever.
Claude is famous for that.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I don't hit limits because we spend a lot on Claude every month, and I have vastly engineered my workspace so that I use far less tokens than most people when I'm doing very heavy workflows. But that's just comes with usage and experience. But Debbie, if you want to cheat and you're a nonprofit, and I would encourage, Debbie, I'm doing a talk for the Better Business Bureau Nonprofit Summit in August, and we're going to talk about these kind of things. And if you're in Louisville, I would strongly suggest getting coffee with Katie Cameron at Blueprint 502. She is one of the most powerful nonprofit users of AI I've ever met. She's brilliant. And she and I have worked together on some stuff, but she's taken off. She doesn't really need me anymore. But I would say, Debbie, if you're trying to save costs, just get a free account with ChatGPT, with Claude, with Gemini. If you're using Microsoft, you've already got Copilot, I think. That would be kind of my last choice. But that's I just use all of their free tiers. So when you run out of OpenAI for 5 hours, just switch over to Claude. And what you can do is, and you'll start getting this intuitively, you'll know when your workflow is reaching that. I think it might even show you a meter or percentage when you're about to run out of capacity. Have it condense it down, copy paste it into Claude, and just continue your conversation.
What's the average cost? Do you have any idea? You pay for the stuff. So what, if somebody's getting started and they want to move from free to something, what's the
it's between $20 and $25 a month on
Okay.
each platform. You do get significantly more. Now, I believe with Claude, if you want the desktop app, and possibly with OpenAI, you do have to be on a paid plan. And the desktop app is incredibly powerful and useful. It's the best $20 a month you'll ever spend.
Okay.
Hands down, you should invest in that. because it can connect to all of your other software and to your files. So you can, I can't remember who asked it, maybe Melissa earlier. Like if I had all of the text messages and all of the emails and all this dropping into a Google Drive folder, that would be connected to my Claude Cowork. And I could just say, go sort all those out, rename them, put them in folders, and give me a summary of all of those that came in over last night. And you can set up you can actually set that up on a schedule so it does it itself at 6 a.m. every morning or whenever you want. We have many of our clients are set on those automatic cadences where things just happen.
So doing those things, I mean, it's really easy, and I feel this from everybody out there too. I think that it's easy to say, yeah, we're going to automate this, or we're going to have Claude put everything in a folder and look at it, stuff like that. But actually telling Claude to do that, it's not that hard, right? It's just basically a conversation and testing to make sure that it's doing what you asked it to do. Is that a fair statement?
It is. One of the most effective ways of using an AI is to prompt it with what outcome are you trying to reach? What is the goal of what you're trying to accomplish?
Mhm.
Prompt engineering has kind of faded. Last year, it was the big thing. But the models they have seen a billion prompts. They have been trained on them. You don't necessarily have to write out, you are a marketing expert with 20 years experience and all these blocks and these massive prompts anymore. And you're actually, in many cases, not really helping yourself.
Right.
In most cases, like I use it as a thought partner and I'll say, here's what I'm trying to achieve. Here's the things I already have, my assets. Ask me questions to help me get to a plan one at a time. And they're really good at doing that. And it's not that you're trying to help it tell you what to do. You're trying to have it help you work through what you're trying to achieve. And it's very effective.
So no prompt engineering, just basically the conversation. And so for that example, if I want it to summarize emails that are in my Google Drive or in my Gmail, I'll just have that conversation with it and allow it access. If it doesn't, if it can't reach my Gmail, I can ask it, well, you can't reach it. How do I allow you access? I mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what a lot of people, and it's tough for us to understand that because software's never worked like that.
Yeah.
Where you can just have it tell you, like it's a big mind shift. And honestly, I don't always do it. I'll sit there like, gosh, how do I do this? What am I doing? Like, even if it doesn't give me 100%, it's going to get me 80% where I was at 0.
Yeah.
Have it tell you what it can do, what you can do. To Melissa's question, should we just build our own workflow? Try it. And I will say, try it and look at all of the outputs. That's what's called human in the loop. And when we build an agentic workflow, you always want to have human oversight. You don't want to take something, an accounting firm, or better yet, lawyers. It amazes me that attorneys are still getting in trouble for submitting fake citations. Like, the reason you spend $300 to $500 an hour on your attorney is they went through all this education, all this schooling. They understand the law. And yet, dozens of cases every year of attorneys submitting fake citations because they let AI just write it all for them.
Right.
That's nuts.
Yeah. 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 So what are any like integration pitfalls, when adding AI to like existing software, like CRMs or accounting or stuff like that? Where do things fall short sometimes?
Mainly you want to make sure that you have granular control over what they can and can't do. I've seen, OpenAI came out with some new models this last week, Soul and Luna, and I've seen people on Twitter complaining that Soul has wiped out, their entire Stripe database, things like that. You don't want to give again, it's non-deterministic. It's gonna do things that you're not necessarily expecting. So giving it access to your file system but making sure that it only has access. And you can lock that down, and you can have one of the other models tell you how to do it. So it can't actually delete files on your computer or in your Google Drive or in your CRM. Or you can set it up so that it has to alert you when it's going to do those things.
Mm.
Now, my Claude Code instance, which I build software with, it's pretty locked down. Like I review every single thing that it does, and I only approve it if I approve of that, or we'll have a conversation. Like, that's not really what we were going.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is just like, again, YOLO mode, where like, yeah, just go for it. Now, if it's something you don't care about and you're just playing around and experimenting, I do that too. I mean,
Um, so on that note, what are the biggest privacy, security, and like compliance risks that a small business would have, like integrating AI?
so Satya Nadella, one of the lead AI leaders at Microsoft, just came out with an article this week, which is really strong. And this is kind of future looking for a lot of organizations, in that, if you're on an enterprise or a company plan with ChatGPT or with OpenAI or with Anthropic, the standard boilerplate agreement is they will not train the model on your information, on your prompts, on your entries, and all that. That does not mean that at some point in the future, they won't use the information you're entering to replace you and your company and your business. They did it to Figma. They kind of did it to Cursor. Cursor has survived, but Cursor was a really strong AI coding agent. And Anthropic was working alongside them, working with them. And then all of a sudden, Claude Code comes out. Claude Design came out after they were working with Figma. OpenAI just filed suit, or sorry, Apple just filed suit against OpenAI on Friday, a big lawsuit where they alleged that OpenAI was basically poaching all of their talent, which is nothing new, but also encouraging those people to steal trade secrets on their way out of Apple for their new hardware division. So these companies have proven that they're not necessarily someone you can trust implicitly.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah, and they're tech companies, so even if they get their hand slapped, oh, it's $1 billion.
Yeah.
How many times has Meta paid fines?
Right.
Rules
are for the little guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to privacy, you want to be very, very careful about what you're putting into chat. And that's why it's important to be deliberate about the way you roll out AI into your business or your nonprofit, and make sure everybody has the same training and the same understanding. You need an HR policy before you do anything. My friends at Thrive HR here in Louisville created a free boilerplate one. I can email it to anybody. But when it comes to personally identifiable information, there is software to help block it. I built a free one, a free Chrome extension, that when you're typing into any AI chat and before you hit enter, it's going to say, hey, this looks like a social security number. This looks like a phone number. Are you sure? And it'll put in redactions. So it'll say person one instead of Jane Smith. You just got to be intentional. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest challenges that businesses and nonprofits and attorneys are learning, is that there is no easy button. And it's like, there is an easy button, but you may not like the outcome. Dave, you're almost my age. You probably remember Fantasy Island. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mr. Rourke will give you exactly what you asked for, but it never really ended up being what you wanted.
Yeah, never worked out.
I had to be an adult before I realized he was actually the devil. Can AI be used? This is a good question. Can AI be used to steal ideas? Say, for example, you're exploring an invention or some type of intellectual property discussing with AI. Are there settings we need to be aware of? Absolutely. 100%. That's again, that's why I would use local small models first. If you're dealing with very sensitive IP, you don't want to feed the model with it. There's no guarantee. Again, they may not train the model on it, but you're using software. They are still seeing every single thing you input. And to have a policy that says we won't train our model on your prompts, it's not the same as we won't read your prompts and use that information.
Yeah.
Those are two totally different things. So if you have some really, really internal strong IP, I would not do that. I don't know, I would probably have to figure out a way to use AI to help me as much as I can without giving it that secret sauce. Or I would wait and train a small model that is narrowly focused on how it can help me, whether it's coding or language or what.
Right.
That's to Melissa's earlier question. That's the point where you should probably talk to a consultant
Mm-hmm.
or somebody at a software company, because there are ways to engineer that with a model, or to use companies that redact IP. Wald, WALD. I talked to them last year. So they have a platform, and I think it costs about the same, where they auto redact IP in addition to private and personally identifiable information like my plugin does, which is free, by the way. But they're not free. But they automatically identify it with a local model that's in your browser. They identify and redact the IP. You may not get much of a response because it doesn't understand what you're asking if all that's redacted, though.
Mm-hmm.
Aprila, that's a good. I like ChatGPT because I make my legal contracts for my caregiver business. I would make sure you review that thing,
Yep.
Especially any citations it puts in there. If it's just a boilerplate, you're probably fine. But I would probably pay for an hour of a small business attorney's time and have them review it.
Definitely. Definitely.
Thomas, who has the rights to redacted IPs? I'm not really sure that tracks, because if you've redacted it, you should be the only person who's able to see it. Unless the software, now, like Wald, for example, and I've talked to them several times. They're a SOC 2 and HIPAA certified company. Their entire business rests on the idea that you're not sharing your IP, which is intellectual property. We're saying IP a lot. I want to make sure everybody's clear. It's intellectual property, that you're not sharing it with the models. So if they were to violate that, they've blown up their entire business model. So at some point, you do have to trust a little bit.
Here's a good one.
And with toolkits like N8N, and N8N is one of those automation platforms I talked about. I use that extensively before Claude Code. I've become more streamlined or capable. Some examples of projects or automation that a non-technical business might use Claude Code for, use N8N for. And talk to me. We categorize those bins. What risks do you see at the edges of any of those bins? Wow, that's deep. I will tell you, Jeff, the owner of Pino's Palette in Louisville, Jeffersonville, and I think he owns 2 or 3 other locations in the country, has self-taught N8N and uses AI with it now for his business. So his business has a lot of moving parts and a lot of software and a lot of scheduling, especially because I think he owns 5 locations in total now. There might be 4, but I think it's 5. So N8N, honestly, like I mentioned earlier, Daniel, when it comes to building AI into a workflow, my goal is to get that to the narrowest sliver possible in that workflow, because I'm a software developer. I want deterministic everywhere. I want to control outputs everywhere I can. AI gives me the ability to scale and to make things happen a lot quicker, but it also introduces vulnerabilities to hallucinated outputs, or just wrong stuff, or the wrong, or breaking things or deleting things. Non-technical business owner. So here's cool is Claude and ChatGPT are both trained on the entire documentation of N8N. So I would ask that exact question. Let it know about your business. Don't give it any secret sauce or any client information, but tell it, say, hey, I own a plumbing company in Louisville. These are the things we do. Here's the softwares we use. Where could I, as a small non-technical business owner, use N8N to automate processes?
Right.
And it'll list them out for you. And then you could just continue the conversation, say, well, I don't do that. We spend a lot of time on this. How could that help me? And let it tell you. And it'll actually build you the JSON, which is the file format that you can just drop in N8N, and oftentimes it doesn't work right off, but you can then take the errors, put them back into AI and say, hey, this isn't working, and it'll help you fix it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Jay, what kind of coming up on the hour here, but what AI trends in the next 1 to 3 years should small business owners kind of pay attention to going forward?
I have no idea. Um, that's wild, and that's wild to say because we used to be able to at least read the tea leaves a little bit, given our expertise, but things changed so well. This time last year, I never would have predicted the speed with which I can build software now.
Right.
I was faster, but now I can launch and build. You said it yourself. I can launch and build a full app in a couple hours, like, and full scaffolding, safe, secure, all that stuff. Like, but that's given my experience. So to even predict what's going to happen, that's tough. But what I will say is it's important for everybody to at least have a solid understanding of the way it works, the way it does not work. And honestly, the easiest way to do that is not to sit on the sidelines and let someone like me tell you, it's to use it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, this has been fantastic, Jay, and I could sit here and listen to you chat about this all day.
Me too. I love hearing myself talk.
So yeah, Jay, thanks so much. This has been fantastic. Janet, thanks for driving the ship for us as always.
Absolutely.
I want to thank everybody in the comments. Like, really, really good questions. Very thoughtful.
Absolutely.
And that's the most important thing is you're thinking through this. It's not an easy button. You're definitely not going to replace your employees. Oh, you can. It's going to be painful. And you're going to end up rehiring them for much more money.
Yeah.
At least right now.
Okay, we will send out a recording here in a couple of days with Jay's contact. If you want to reach out to Jay, he'd be glad to hear from you. And if we can help you here at the Small Business Development Center, we're here to help as well. So thanks, everyone. We will see you guys next Tuesday on another Toolkit Tuesday. Have a good Tuesday. Take care now.
Thank you.